On the 5th of August 2019, the Government of India revoked the special status, or limited autonomy, granted under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution to Jammu and Kashmir, a region administered by India as a state which consists of the larger part of Kashmir, which has been the subject of dispute among India, Pakistan, and China since 1947. Among the Indian government actions accompanying the revocation was the cutting off of communication lines in the Kashmir Valley, and thousands of security forces were deployed to curb any uprising. Several leading Kashmiri politicians were taken into custody, including the former chief minister. Government officials described these restrictions as designed for preempting violence, and justified the revocation for enabling people of the state to access government programs such as reservation, right to education and right to information. The reaction in the Kashmir Valley was effectively reduced to silence because of cut-off communication and with imposition of curfew. Many nationalists celebrated, declaring the move to herald public order and prosperity in Kashmir. Among political parties in India, the revocation was supported by the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, and, among others, by the Bahujan Samaj Party, the Aam Aadmi Party, AIADMK, Telugu Desam Party, YSR Congress Party, BJD and the Shiv Sena. It was opposed by the Indian National Congress, Jammu and Kashmir National Conference, Jammu and Kashmir People's Democratic Party, Trinamool Congress, Janata Dal and the DMK. In Ladakh, people in the Kargil area, who are Shia Muslim and form the plurality of the population of Ladakh, protested. However, the Buddhist community in Ladakh supported the decision. The President of India issued an order under the power of Article 370, overriding the prevailing 1954 presidential order and nullifying all the provisions of autonomy granted to the state. The Home Minister introduced a reorganization bill in the Indian Parliament, seeking to divide the state into two union territories to be governed by a lieutenant governor and a unicameral legislature. The resolution seeking the revocation of the special status under Article 370 and the bill for the state's reorganization was debated and passed by the Rajya Sabha, India's upper house of Parliament, on the 5th of August 2019. On the 6th of August, the Lok Sabha, India's lower house of Parliament, debated and passed the reorganization bill, along with the resolution recommending the revocation. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution gave special status to Jammu and Kashmir, a state in India, located in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent, and a part of the larger region of Kashmir, which has been the subject of dispute between India, Pakistan and China. The article conferred power on Jammu and Kashmir to have a separate constitution, a state flag and autonomy over the internal administration of the state. The Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, after its establishment, was empowered to recommend the articles of the Indian Constitution that should be applied to the state or to abrogate the Article 370 altogether. After consultation with the state's Constituent Assembly, the 1954 presidential order was issued, specifying the articles of the Indian Constitution that applied to the state. The Constituent Assembly dissolved itself without recommending the abrogation of Article 370. The article was deemed to have become a permanent feature of the Indian Constitution. This article, along with Article 35A, defined that the Jammu and Kashmir state's residents live under a separate set of laws, including those related to citizenship, ownership of property, and fundamental rights, as compared to residents of other Indian states, under various Indian National Congress party-led central governments and locally elected state governments, such as those of the National Conference. Between 1954 and 2011, India used the provisions of Article 370 to issue presidential orders to extend the Indian Constitution to Jammu and Kashmir with the concurrence of the state government, and reduce the state's autonomy. These past presidential orders under Article 370 are also controversial and a subject of the Kashmir dispute. Political scientist Sumantra Bose, a Kashmir scholar, sums up the politics of the period 1953 to 63, during which Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad served as the Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir in these words. Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad's term in office lasted a full decade, until October 1963. The sequence of events during that decade strongly suggests a contractual relationship between Bakshi and the Government of India, whereby he would be allowed to run an unrepresentative, unaccountable government in Srinagar in return for facilitating IJK's integration with India on New Delhi's terms. The result was twofold: a crippling of rule of law and democratic institutions in IJK, and an erosion of IJK's autonomy, achieved with the concurrence of IJK's government.